All right, do stay with us here. Plenty more to come at the top of the hour. For the moment, though, I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. This is BBC News. Bye-bye.
Hello, I'm Fraser, and this is The Context.
Think of the unrecognized victims whose stories often remain in the shadows. I want you to know that we share the same fight.
He wanted to reduce her to an object, a possession to be used for his satisfaction. Then he could lend this object to other people, and to do all that, he needed to drug her.
All those guilty verdicts really came as no surprise here, but it is the length, or rather the shortness, of some of the sentences handed out that has provoked some consternation.
In France, the biggest mass rape trial comes to an end. Dominique Pellicot jailed for 20 years today for drugging and raping his wife Giselle. 50 other men are also jailed, but were their sentences long enough? Luigi Mangione, the suspect accused of shooting dead the healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is flown to New York, where he is now facing federal charges. We'll get the latest from our correspondent, who is outside the courthouse in New York. Also tonight, Lord Peter Mandelson named as the UK's new ambassador to the United States, and the security brief. Mikey Kay is here. Rare access tonight to a base in England where Ukrainian frontline soldiers are being trained for battle. A very good evening. The man accused of shooting dead the CEO of America's biggest health insurance company has been flown back to New York. Luigi Mangione dropped his fight to be extradited from Pennsylvania earlier today and was flown to New York, where he is now appearing in court. Get a feeling for what the president thinks. He'll need all those skills, I think, in that job. Helen, thank you very much. We'll take a short break. Around the world and across the UK, you're watching BBC News. Welcome back. The sordid details of the abuse to which Dominique Pellicot exposed his wife Giselle are shocking. He drugged her, he raped her, and for 10 years he invited up to 70 men into their bedroom to do as they please. Florence Eshalomi, I'm sorry we're pressed for time tonight. It's very good to have you on the programme. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
We will take a short break. The other side of the break, I've got a really good film to show you. Mikey Kay will be here. He's been in an undisclosed base in eastern England with the Ukrainian soldiers who are here for training. It's very rare access. You'll want to see it. We'll be back with that very shortly. Don't go away. Hello, I'm Fraser. You're watching The Context on BBC News. Tonight, a special report. We go inside the multinational operation to train the Ukrainian soldiers. Welcome back. It is time for the security brief. The British Defence Secretary was in Kyiv on Wednesday for a meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart, and in that meeting he made a commitment to train thousands more frontline troops. Training that will be done here in the UK and quite possibly inside Ukraine itself.
It's what the US does next, I think, that will affect that morale.
What comes next is the focus after we've taken a short break. Around the world and across the UK, you're watching BBC News. Welcome back. I'm pleased to say that Chris Steele, former head of the Russian desk at MI6, has joined us here in the studio. He's going to be on our panel this evening, but we thought we'd bring him in early since we are talking about Ukraine and Russia. And a NATO meeting that was held yesterday in Brussels with the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. The UK Foreign Secretary was there alongside leaders from Italy, Germany, Poland and France. The European nations currently discussing whether they would send a peacekeeping force to Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire or peace deal. The US President-elect Donald Trump has made it clear he will not put American boots on the ground to guarantee security. But under what mandate would the Europeans go? That was a question that was posed last night by our panellist, Sir Kim Darroch, former UK ambassador to the United States.
Yeah, and my brain hurts a lot after it as well, because there's a lot of production and analysis and research that goes into it, as you know.
Well, it was really interesting seeing the film you put together this week, so thank you for that, and happy Christmas to you. We'll see you the other side.
You too.
We will be back shortly after this break. Chris will be here and we will be talking about that case in France, but also the spending row in Washington, which I'm reading here on Reuters might have been solved. We'll tell you about that the other side of the break. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Christian Fraser. You're watching The Context on BBC News.
Think of the unrecognized victims whose stories often remain in the shadows. I want you to know that we share the same fight.
He wanted to reduce her to an object, a possession to be used for his satisfaction. Then he could lend this object to other people, and to do all that, he needed to drug her.
All those guilty verdicts really came as no surprise here, but it is the length, or rather the shortness, of some of the sentences handed out that has provoked some consternation.
Joining me tonight on the panel, the former MI6 intelligence officer Christopher Steele and the former speechwriter for President Obama, David Litt. We have the perfect panel for you this evening in mind of everything that's going on, but before we do all that, let's get the latest BBC News. The veteran Labour politician Lord Mandelson is expected to be named the new UK ambassador to the United States. He served in multiple ministerial roles under Prime Ministers Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. A government source says it is sending someone with unrivalled political and policy experience, particularly on the critical issue of trade. Republicans in the US Congress have said they have come up with a new stopgap funding bill to avert a looming government shutdown. They say the deal includes a suspension of the debt limit until 2027. Luigi Mangione, who is accused of shooting dead the head of America's biggest health insurance company, has appeared in court in New York after being extradited from Pennsylvania. He faces 4 federal charges, including stalking and murder, in addition to the state charges he was already facing. And the French Prime Minister François Bayrou has praised the courage of Gisèle Pellico following a mass rape trial in which her ex-husband and 50 other defendants were found guilty. Dominique Pellico was jailed for 20 years for organising the repeated drugging and rape of his former wife by dozens of strangers over a decade. If you are just joining us, welcome to the programme. We start tonight with that breaking news that Lord Peter Mandelson has been named as the new UK ambassador to the United States. He will replace the outgoing ambassador, Dame Karen Pierce.
And that's what lies at the heart of the problem.
OK, we will take a short break around the world and across the UK. This is BBC News. The chief prosecutor in France's biggest rape trial, which concluded today, believes the trial and the publicity that surrounded it will fundamentally change the relationship between men and women in France. 51 men have all been found guilty of aggravated rape. All but 2 of them are now in jail for what they did to this one grandmother, 72-year-old Gisèle Pellico. Her ex-husband Dominique, the man she married in 1973, was given the longest sentence, 20 years, for drugging his wife and allowing dozens of strangers to come into the home and rape her repeatedly over a 10-year period.
Deteriorates, and someone's innocence is no longer about did they commit the crime or not, but which political party do they belong to? Do their beliefs align with my beliefs?
Yeah.
It doesn't just deteriorate in certain places.
Okay. We're up against the break, David. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Christian Fraser. You're watching The Context on BBC News. Turning the end-of-year reflection into an art form with the countdown on for 2025. We'll speak to the artist who makes this unique illustration of iconic and culturally significant moments. Now, the structure is still taking shape, but there is news today from America that those opposed to Donald Trump are bringing together donors and lawyers to defend pro bono former officials who may be targeted in Donald Trump's campaign of retribution. A person familiar with the planning has described it as a push to start a group that would offer security and finance to anyone facing what they believe to be retaliatory action. Indeed so. Lovely memories. And yes, some iconic figures in that picture. Chris, it is lovely to meet you again. We'll do this again same time next year, shall we?
All right. Yep. Fair enough. 10 years next
going
year.
on again.
10 years.
Chris Barker there with his picture. Have a look online. You'll find it on social media. It's been shared quite widely. Around the world and across the UK, you're watching BBC News. Now, it is time for the panel. We are going to continue the artistic thread in this section of the programme. I'm going to start with you, Chris, because you've been to Aldershot to see something quite remarkable.
How things enter the culture when they clearly kind of shouldn't.
Yeah.
There's a marriage involved, there's a love story, and then a legal battle. There's all kinds of interesting things.
Well,
all involved.
So if people are revamping their Spotify list, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer is the one that you need to put top of the pile. David, we're out of time. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much to you. If you are going to a Christmas celebration, David, I hope you enjoy it. Chris, thank you very much for your company again this evening. Happy Christmas to you.
Thank you, Anthony.
And we will see you all in 2025. Look forward to that. Have a very good night.
Hello, good evening from the BBC Sports Centre. I'm Betty Glover. We'll start with football because Tottenham are closing in on the semi-finals of the League Cup. They're 4-2 up against Manchester United. Just to update you, in that League Cup game between Tottenham and Manchester United. United have managed to pull one back in injury time. Seconds of injury time left, but Johnny Evans have pulled it back. Spurs currently leading 4-3.
Hello there. The festive forecast into next week does look